So today we will take a look into how to estimate the break-even point, how to estimate when the company will make profit, when is it under loss, etc. So before we get into the details of calculation, we have to understand the figure that's shown in here. We have an x-axis which shows the number of units sold, and the y-axis shows the dollar amount associated with it. And also we had to look into three lines here. One is called the total cost line, and the sales revenue line, and the other one is the fixed cost line. So fixed cost line is the amount associated with the fixed cost of the company. The total cost is actually the added value, which is like fixed cost plus the variable cost is called the total cost associated with that. And the sales revenue is actually understood from the name itself. If you sell more and more units, you will have higher and higher dollar amount revenue. So we have to negate the sales revenue from the total cost. So that difference will depict whether the company is under loss or profit. The formal definition of the break-even point, which is shown here, is the point at which the total amount of the sales revenue is equal to the total fixed and variable cost of doing the business during a fixed accounting period. So this is important, a fixed accounting period, because a company will take a long time to recover the cost of investment. For example, if you have a car manufacturing facility like Tesla or any other car manufacturing facility, the initial investment may be millions of dollars for setting up the factory, but you don't need to wait until like 10 or 20 years to recover that money to say the company is under profit. Instead, we take a portion of that as a fixed cost and we'll start recovering it, and during the financial year, during the accounting period, we will estimate the break-even point. And if the number of unit, if for example in the case of car, if you sell more cars than the break-even point, then we say the company is at profit. So that's how we estimate or define how the company is making profit or is it under loss. So we'll go in details by an example. Let's say if the fixed cost is $300,000, that is the investment that we made to make the company, and the variable cost per unit is $400. Selling price per unit is $650. So initially it will look like the variable cost is the cost associated with making the product, and selling price is $650. So the profit may be $650 minus $400. So that will be the intuition that we get, but actually it is not called profit, it is called the contribution margin. So the contribution margin is the amount that is available to cover any other cost. For example, in this case it is the fixed cost. Or in other words, if you sell the product for $650 and the variable cost associated with it is $400, which means the labor, material, supply and everything, then apparently we have $250 to cover some other expenditure. In this case, that is fixed cost. So this amount is available to cover the fixed cost, and we will estimate the break-even point from that. So the break-even point is estimated as $300,000 divided by that $250. So if you sell 1,200 units, that will cover the fixed cost plus the variable cost, or the point corresponding to the 1,200 units is called the break-even point. So any unit that you sell beyond 1,200 will produce the profit for the company. I hope that makes sense. So therefore the break-even point is 1,200 units. By selling 1,200 units, the company will neither incur a loss or it doesn't realize a profit. So any unit on top of that will create a profit of $250. Any additional units also, okay, so this is a repetition what I just said. So it will constitute a $250 profit. Now let's say if the question is how many units does the company have to sell to make a $500,000 profit, with the initial investment of $300,000 and the running cost of the $400 per unit. So this can be achieved by dividing that by the margin. Previously we estimated the profit margin from each unit is $250, or the contribution margin is $250. So that is available after the break-even point to make the profit. So for making $500,000, if you divide that by $250, you will get 2,000 units. So if you sell 2,000 units beyond the break-even point, you can make $500,000 as the profit. So remember, this is after meeting the break-even point. So we have to add this 2,000 units plus 1,000 units, which is the break-even point, to get the profit of $500,000. So a total of 3,200 units is required to make a profit of $500,000. So this is how we estimate break-even point, and we conclude whether the company is under profit or loss for a financial period.